Bonjour. Mishko Pognankwe Nadishnakas Mangdodian. Hello, everybody. It's Sandy Boucher here once again. I'm Red Thunderbolt Woman of the Loon Clan, a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Treaty 3 territory, Northern Ontario. See my fur mate in behind me. And I'm here to do this week's blog post review. And I'll admit, I'm releasing it on Sunday. I usually release it on Saturday. I'm in the middle of my busy season. I'm sorry. But I really wanted to do this blog post review because I hope you guys are watching these because the extra con, context, that's what I wanted. The extra context is so important. And this week, I gotta admit, so I'm a motivational speaker and I believe in the future of this country. I believe in the healing of Indigenous people. I believe in the education and the work of our non-Indigenous allies. I believe many more non-Indigenous people will become allies, giving them enough time. Did you see that little race going by? Oh, we're going to ignore the mess behind me. Renovations going on here. But I noticed something this past week, and to say it doesn't bother me would not be accurate. What you don't see are the stats behind my work. I can see which videos are viewed. I can see how many people read a blog post or choose to comment or share it. I can see which offerings, what content I put out that is popular with you and what isn't, and what kind of makes me sad. And I'm not sure where to go with it yet. And no, I'm not asking for answers. Something I got to sit with is the reality that when I write of Indigenous pain, those posts are far more popular than when I write about what we need from our allies. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know if it's you're trying to support someone else that's in pain. I don't want to think that Indigenous pain is popular. I would hope that you would gravitate to the education and the learning as opposed to the pain. But I don't know what to do with that. And this is not the first time that I've noticed this. And that may be something for my non-Indigenous viewers to unpack. Then why are you more comfy supporting a post that shares my pain as an Indigenous woman than you are when I'm telling you what I need from you? Because as a country, as a collective, we got to get okay with Indigenous people not being in pain, not being marginalized, being empowered, having a voice, being part of the daily conversation, because that's reconciliation. And as if you're in a place, and I'm not saying you are, but if some people are in a place where they're only okay hearing about Indigenous trauma and pain and feeling good about supporting us in that place, and they're not as comfy with us healed and empowered, that's some unpacking you need to do, because we can't stay in pain just to be heard. That price is too high. So this week's posts were incredibly popular, and a lot of them involved pain. The pain is authentic. I didn't do it for hits. I don't write any of my blog posts for the response. I write it based on direction from creator, the inspirations that come into my head, which reminds me there's a post I definitely have to write. But for this video, let's talk about this past week's post. So on March 6th, I talked about Without the Prince. And would you watch a fairy tale? Would you read a fairy tale if it didn't have Prince Charming at the end? And and I tried to allude to and just give you a hint of what it's like to be an Indigenous woman in Canada and being hurt, being physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, sexually attacked by someone and having the overwhelming feeling that no one cares because you're Indigenous. That if you try to say something, they're going to blame you. They're going to blame your lifestyle. They're going to blame who you chose as a partner. They're going to blame your drinking habits. They're going to blame poverty. They're going to blame something you're doing. And people are going to hesitate to help. I've heard it all the time. Well, I tried to help and she got mad at me because she started defending the guy that was attacking her. Yeah, that's codependency. That's something that doesn't make it wrong to interfere. Interfere every single time. Protect the Indigenous women, protect women, period. But that's our reality. So, unfortunately, a lot of people know what domestic abuse is like, but to honestly feel that you're totally alone, that not that no one's going to help, that no one cares to help. That's Indigenous in Canada. That has to change. Hmm. March 7th, along the same lines, was when your partner is toxic, which is a reality for many Indigenous men and women. We have all been traumatized. We continue to be oppressed and have been oppressed for generations, and everyone heals at a different pace. So often now you will see one partner who has done more healing or progressed more on their healing journey than their partner. And yet we see all those movies that if you just love them enough, if you just stick it out, that's your meant to be, that's your, soulmate, and you need to stay. And I know I bought that baloney. I remember thinking I am strong enough to love him. And it shouldn't have to be that hard. It shouldn't be scary. It shouldn't be physically painful. And I'm not saying that person's not your soulmate. I'm saying they're not ready to be your soulmate yet, if that's the way they're going to treat you. So, and again, this is not for pity. And I don't need you saving us. This is just helping to understand what you see. And I know we get crucified for not having healthy relationships or healthy families. How exactly? Most people learn how to be a parent by having one. We had generations of residential school. We had institutionalization rather than parental example in a home. People learn how to love by being loved. We have generations of people that weren't loved, that weren't hugged, that weren't told they were amazing as children, didn't have people believing in them. They were taught judgment and violence and abuse. Yet we're crucified for not having healthy families. Why? Because we didn't heal fast enough from the stuff that's still ongoing. We can do better than that. But again, this is just to help you understand. We don't need saving. You coming in to save us doesn't empower us. We need time and space. We need safe space. We need understanding from our allies so we can take the time to heal. March 8th, oh, it was called Complicated. And again, because Canadian history is so complicated in the Indigenous, non-Indigenous relationship, there are Indigenous people racist against Indigenous people. There are Indigenous people with internalized oppression that buy the BS, that actually think Indigenous people are less than, and they're talking about their own. So that's not something to get angry about. That's sad. And as I said in the post, things change when suddenly the government recognizes many people as Indigenous. They get their status card, and all of a sudden, these people want all of the benefits. And I was talking specifically about people that don't look Indigenous and have not paid that price. But now they have that colonial mentality of take, take, take. And it's just sad. And I have those people come up to me and ask me about the benefits and how did they get this and how did they get that. If you're racing to be Indigenous, you don't understand what it's like to be Indigenous in Canada. And I think a lot of our allies get that, because if you ask them if they trade places with us, they don't want to, because they know what the truth is. Well, there's another fur-mate distracting you from the heavy topic. On March 9th, I talked about grieving the one that hurt you. And I know a couple of comments I saw on social media was, you were grieving the man he could have been. No, no, that's not it at all. This is loving an abusive person and grieving when they pass on. I wasn't grieving some imaginary person. Just because you're in an abusive relationship doesn't mean you don't love that person with everything you have. And when they pass on, even if you're not in love with them anymore, you grieve that you did love them. You grieve the love. The grief is the price for having loved. So that's a reality. It's something I just went through with the passing of someone that was once very incredibly important to me. And it wasn't a healthy relationship. In so many ways, it was toxic. There was a lot of pain inflicted on me. Yet I grieve his passing because I stopped hating him a long time ago. I prayed more for his healing than I've never wanted anything bad to happen to him. And yeah, his life ended, and that deserves to be grieved. And then on March 10th, which was Friday's post, I talked about cubic zirconias, and way too many people thought that post was about diamonds. And I know blood diamonds, right? There's a huge issue with wearing diamonds. So I get that. That's not what the post was about. I was drawing a similarity between cubic zirconias and fake Indigenous crafts. And I know a lot of people are okay wearing cubic zirconias because they're cheaper than real diamonds. And if you want to do that, all the power to you. I pray no one is okay with wearing fake Indigenous beadwork, whether it's earrings or barrettes or anything. If it says Indigenous inspired, it is not Indigenous. It's just inspired by it. It means the crafter is not Indigenous. Ask who the crafter is. Ask what nation they are from if it's not displayed. And usually, if it's authentic, the information on the crafter is right there with the display. So let's move away from fake Indigenous crafts. I mean, it's okay not to be able to afford such a work of art. And Indigenous crafts are works of art. So save up so you can have some, or just admire it from afar, but don't buy the fake stuff, because that encourages the fake stuff to keep happening. So this review was heavier than most. The posts were heavier than most, and the posts, like I said in the beginning, were popular. I still don't know what to do with that, but it is what it is for now. I think to a certain extent, people are used to hearing of Indigenous pain and want to be the hug. We got to get okay with being just as okay with celebrating Indigenous power. We have to be just as okay as hearing from Indigenous people what we need. If your child told you what they needed, I would hope you would celebrate that. If your friend told you, if your partner told you, you wouldn't dismiss it. You wouldn't say you don't want to hear it. I hope you would celebrate it. So in the future, when I'm sharing what we need, please give that just as much love as the posts about our pain. Until next week, I apologize for this video being late once again. I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.